Okay, hello. I'm gonna be doing, I guess, a little tutorial thing for Sky Station 1 for the advanced strats here. Um, First thing to note, obviously if you're practicing this from a completed file, you want to skip that first cutscene. So the whole point of these strats, like at least a big thing with these strats, is making sure the cycles on this planet over here are correct. So this is the common metal planet. You want to make sure that when you get here, the cycles are in the right place. So the whole time, we're going to be trying to keep this off camera pretty much as we can. So the first thing about these is, for this, you need to make sure that you get a spinless Luma here. So normally when you spin next to a Luma, you can't talk to it for like half a second or something. And this normally happens when you go up this like house here. But if you time your spins and your wall jump properly, when you get up here, the Luma will talk to you immediately. So that can be a bit tricky, but once you get there, you'll see that the Luma's hasn't been spun, so it'll talk to me immediately. The second thing to note is you want to make sure that there's kind of a gap between you and the Luma. You want to be kind of around here on the platform. This does two things. One, it makes it so that when the launch star spawns, it skips like a little cutscene of the camera panning back to Mario. But two, it makes it easier for this camera manipulation to do. So after the Luma spawns launch star, you want to immediately go into first person and move the camera so that the planet in the background isn't on camera, because cycles don't move if they're not on camera. If you're in front of the Luma, like if you're right here in front of the Luma, then when you go into first person, you're going to be looking like back towards the planet, and that's not good because then it'll be on camera for longer. So that's why you want to kind of be to the left here, so that when you go into first person, your view is kind of over towards this direction. Yeah, normally the way I do it, or the way I know that I had a good first planet, is you'll see that there's like a little gap between this stone and the ground here. There's like a little gap in the ground. That's normally my like cue for like, okay, I did the first planet right. On the second planet, the cycles for this common metal planet actually don't move, so you don't have to do these strats, but they're faster. They're kind of hard though. So you need to long jump right here, roughly, and right at the very, very, very edge, like as much as possible. And you want to make sure you're going directly up right. And then you'll get up here without spinning. And then from here, you jump up to this platform, and then jump over here, and you get your momentum long jump. This is a pretty difficult planet, so if you just want to do the triple jump, I mean, that's fine, but because again, this planet doesn't affect the common metal planet cycles. But yeah, that's a bit tricky, but that is the fastest way to do that. So this Luma bounce, you want to keep something in mind here, which is you want to make sure that when you do the bounce, you're kind of to the left. So you want to try to start your bounce a little to the right of the Luma. Here I mean, I don't do that very well. I'm clearly kind of to the left. But you want to make sure that when you bounce, you're kind of going towards the left over here. If you go to the right, the camera will pan sooner, and the common metal planet will be on screen sooner, and this will mess up the cycles. So you want to make sure you're towards the left, and you'll see the camera doesn't show this planet until you land, which is what you want. And so yeah, obviously when you land, you just long jump into launch star. I normally like to long jump when Mario kind of crosses this little black line here. I long jump into launch star. And then here's the tricky part, this planet, what we've been setting up for. So what I do, I actually run forward for like just a bit here. You'll see I grab the checkpoint here, and then I switched up right, as you can see, like relatively, like a couple steps forward and then switched up right. And then long jump and land here. You want to make sure you land, that's why we've been setting up the planet this way, so that this block doesn't push you off. So you want to land here, and then immediately long jump to the right. So now there's something to note about this long jump is this fence can get in your way here. Like you see here, I kind of clip into the fence. You can do that. I mean, that's optimal. You want that to happen, but if you don't, that's okay. Let me go back. If you don't clip into the fence and you're kind of in front of it, that's fine, but you need to make sure that you do your second long jump at a good point, or else you're going to bonk on the fence. So what I do is I always make sure that I kind of line myself up with the edge of this crystal here. So like I try to like do my second long jump right about here, right to the left of where this crystal is. If you do that properly, you won't bonk the fence, and you'll get enough distance that you can get onto the next stone platform. It's kind of tricky. You don't need to worry about that if you're clipped into the fence because you won't bonk. If you're like close enough to the edge, but otherwise you're gonna want to make sure you long jump at the right time. It's pretty tricky, but yeah. So you'll see even here, I kind of like control myself. If you look at the input display, I kind of hold back for a second to make sure I long jump right here, which is right to the left of this crystal. And then you long jump down right, and then you time this spin. Obviously hold A. This spin's actually really tough, the timing for it, but it's relatively self-explanatory once you get the timing down. And from here, I do this like little semicircle run so I don't accidentally ground pound. But I mean, the gist of this is you just long jump into the common metal. You know, pretty easy. Right into the common metal. Obviously, the text would be there. And there you go. And that's the hard part. The rest is pretty standard. This backflip is kind of tricky, but if you look at the input display, I kind of just rotate it counterclockwise after I do the backflip. And you also notice, this is a personal preference thing, but when I do this camera cancel, I do up and then I press A. That's because a lot of the time, if you do like the up and then down on the D-pad, sometimes your finger will press like one of the other directions and it'll change the camera, which must this whole thing up. So I always like to do up and A here, and there's some places I do that, but in general, that prevents the camera from getting messed up. But that's obviously, you don't have to do that. So this first hit's pretty normal. Ground pound. And as soon as you press it, you start shooting the star bits right where I did. So you can get the fast hit there. The second hit's a bit different from the other videos I have. But basically, for this, you just want to long jump pretty much as soon as you can. And then your spin and your ground pound, you want it to be pretty early. Because to get this fast hit, you want to hit the shell kind of like as close to his head as you can. So you don't want to hit like the butt. You want to hit like kind of towards the neck. So you want to do your spin and your ground pound relatively early here. Because he's running towards you, so if you ground pound early, then by the time you actually do the ground pound, he'll be underneath you. So you kind of want to do the ground pound towards, when you're like maybe right above his head, or like towards the back of his head. And then you'll land on a shell and just spin. So, long jump, spin, ground pound. Pretty self-explanatory overall. That could be a bit tricky though, the timing for that. But it's not too bad. And you need to make sure, obviously, you long jump as soon as possible, or else you're gonna get hit. And then yeah, that's the fast jabs for Sky Station 1. They require a bunch of practice, so don't feel discouraged. But yeah.